How are you at dealing with interruptions in your day? Interruptions are a part of life just about every day. One day, on a beautiful summery afternoon, I was driving on a country road, and it was one of those days where my windows were down and every curve felt so good. And then all of a sudden, on this country road, I saw brake lights ahead. And then I got up there and there was a complete standstill. Cars weren't moving at all. I was like the fourth or fifth car on the scene. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. I pulled over a little bit so I could crane my neck, but I couldn't see it all. And I, for a few moments offered it up. But pretty soon, I was getting really irritated. It reminded me of a story from Ireland that I once heard about an Irishman who pulled up as the second car at a red light. And the car in front of him, when the light turned green, didn't go. He sat there. And the guy sitting in the car behind him was like, well, maybe something's wrong. But then the light turned yellow and then red. So he offered it up. Well, then the light turns green again. Same thing. He doesn't go. It turns yellow. It turns red. So he gets out of his car, can't believe this, so fuming, walks up, knocks on the glass, and the guy rolls down the window and he says, "Just exactly what shade of green are you waiting for?" Well, back to this. So I'm sitting there thinking of that story, fuming, and then after another minute or so, I saw it, the head of an ancient turtle making its way across the road, finally getting over to the other side. And suddenly I was so grateful that driver saw the turtle and that what could have been a tragedy wound up being a moment of mercy. Interruptions. They're never welcome, but they are a big part of life. And that's what we're hearing about in the gospel today. Jesus is leaving town. He spent a whole day ministering to people and healing them and blessing them. And any of you who work in the service industry know about this, right? You're closed. You just closed. You just turned the sign to say, "Sorry, come see us tomorrow." And then comes one more person. In this case, one more beggar, Bartimaeus. And the apostles are like me. They've had enough. "Sorry, better luck next time. We're closed." But Jesus doesn't. Jesus doesn't see Bartimaeus that way. To Jesus, Bartimaeus was a divine appointment on his calendar that he didn't see ahead of time, but that was very important for him to keep. When you study Jesus' life, you see that he didn't have office hours. There was no window of time that you could come and see Jesus, and if you didn't come at that exact time, he would be closed. And he didn't have like a menu of services. He didn't say, "Oh, I don't do that. Nope, you're going to want to go across town to that guy." He would do whatever was needed. He would help however he could. And that's a lesson that we're meant to take from this gospel today. That to be God's servant, to be someone who's God's agent in the world, so much of what we do is just helping the person who's in front of us with whatever their need is, whether we saw it coming or not. Catholic Charities a few years ago wanted to come up with a new slogan that would portray the spirituality of what they're trying to do, that they really were trying to be just like Jesus in today's world. So for the past couple of years, their slogan has been, "No wrong door." So when you go to Catholic Charities, they want you to know, we're not going to greet you with a sign that says, "Sorry, that service is only available between 9 and 9:15 on the third Tuesday of the month. Better luck next time." They're going to figure out how to help you. If you come to the maternity services office with a utility bill that you can't pay, they're not going to tell you, "Oh, you came to the wrong place. We can't help you." There's no wrong door. They're going to find a way to help you. Whatever door you come in, they will make sure that it's the right door. So once we recognize that serving others is basically helping, it's meeting the need that's right in front of you, whether or not it fits your job description, whether or not your degree is really about that, just serving the need that's right in front of you, we start to see that service is for everybody all the time. There's nobody who's not qualified to serve, because it's always about just pitching in and doing something for someone else that is needed. In one of my former parishes, we had a big parking lot problem. There was a section that had a big divot in it, a big dip, and so whenever there was a rain, it was a lake. It was a lake that took up about 5 or 6 spaces. We've got a little bit of a problem like that over at the school, but not quite so bad. But there's still some lakes over there you got to be careful of. Well, this lake was big. And so one day, Lori, our business manager, saw an older man parking in the lake. And when he got out of the car, he was got his cane, and he was kind of struggling to step over the water. And she said, "Sir, why don't you park right over here? You don't have to park in the water like that. Why don't you just move your car right over here?" And he said, "I know, but at this Mass, all the spaces are usually taken. And I'd rather take this one so that no one else has to walk in the water." That's what service looks like. Can you imagine if somebody saw him doing that, the kind of domino effect of kindness that would unleash? Just doing something kind so that someone else doesn't have to be inconvenienced. One way we can look at life is that because we're all God's children, we're all in one great big household together. We're all members of the same household. And just like any house, there's chores. So these acts of service are the chores. It's like emptying the dishwasher or making sure the pets are fed. It's exactly like that. It is the household chore for someone who is a member of God's family. And we don't see the chore coming usually. When we start our day and we put together our schedule, the chores that we're going to have to do, they're not on there yet. They're going to come in the form of interruptions. And we're going to be given the opportunity to allow ourselves to see that differently, to see it as a divine appointment instead of just another interruption. On Wednesday, I was working on this homily at a coffee shop over by the Northway. And my back was to the door, and I was in the middle of kind of a tricky transition where I was trying to figure out how was I going to say this and have it flow into that. And then I heard a couple behind me, and the woman in a French accent said, "Maybe he can help us." And it was one of those moments where I thought, please don't let the he be me. You know that feeling? Can it be another he? But it wasn't. It was me. And they said, "We're trying to get into Canada." That's why she had the French accent. They lived in Virginia, but that was her home, and she was returning home for the first time in a couple of years. And she said, "We need a negative COVID test in order to get over the border. And we have one, but my grandchildren always help me with these iPhones. I don't know how to get in here to show them that I've had a test." So I said, "Well, does your phone open using your thumbprint or with your face?" And she said, "I don't know." So we got to the bottom, it was a face, and so then we got in there, and I found the link that CVS had given them to their test results. But to get the link to activate, you have to put in your year of birth, and she didn't know how to scroll, so we figured out how to get her date of birth in there. We got her phone number in there, and then she got overzealous, and she pressed submit too early, and it was rejected. And you had to go back and start all over again. And that's when I started to think, listen, I am doing important work here. I do not have any more time for this. Until I realized that the important work I was doing was writing a homily about how interruptions are divine appointments. So I finished helping them. And we got their test results, both negative, thank God, and hopefully they are having a really wonderful reunion in Canada. Every one of us is going to get an assignment, and we're going to get one today. It might be very subtle, but we're going to get one. We always do. In one of the parishes I used to serve at when I was a seminarian in Boston, they had a parish school that when you walked in had a nautical theme for their decorating. So it was like they had portholes and they had ships and they had waves and they had dolphins. It was a whole nautical scene. And above the door, it said, "Welcome aboard." And beneath it, it said, "On this ship, there are no passengers, only crew." And I thought, that is what baptism is. We say at baptism, "Welcome aboard." There are no passengers on this ship, only crew. And the captain has an assignment for you that's going to be coming up any second now.